So you passed nursing school, congratulations. Congrats to you, you passed nursing school, but here comes the real hard work. Passing that damn NCLEX, okay? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Glory here, and today's video is going to be all about my top 5 tips to help you pass the NCLEX. So if you're interested in how I studied and what I did and what my tips are, just keep on watching. So tip number 1 is understanding how the NCLEX is designed and how it works. So the NCLEX is a computerized adaptive testing program. So basically, it's going to adjust in difficulty based on how you're responding to the questions. So normally there's a minimum of 75 questions and a maximum of 265. I know that since coronavirus situation, it's changed. For me, the minimum was 60 and the maximum was like, I think 130 questions. Okay, so it's changed, but that's what it normally is. So basically how I can explain it is, think of like a pass line, right? And basically all you have to do is maintain or stay above this pass line. So if you get a question right, you're above it. If you get a question wrong, you're below it. And so basically you pass a test when you're able to answer enough questions to stay above the pass line with at least 95% confidence interval. So that's the first thing. So understanding that it will get difficult as you go on. So that means that when you're taking the exam and you start to get all those difficult questions, like the select all that apply kind of questions, that means that you're doing well and you've been getting those other questions that you've got previously correct. So for my NCLEX, I had, dear God, I had so many of the select all that apply questions. My heart sank every time I saw them because I hate them. Because, you know, it's all or nothing. You can't just, if you get one of them wrong, the whole thing is wrong. So I actually hate them, but it was a good sign. I was okay, that means I'm doing good, I guess, or it's getting more difficult, I don't know. Okay, so that was my first tip. Tip number 2, do not waste time. Please, for the love of God. Do not take 3 to 4 months to study for this exam. Yes, I know how important it is. Yes, I know it's very difficult, but there's no need for you to study for 5 months, sis. You just had a whole 3 years or 2 years of nursing school. You don't need to study another 4 months for this exam. I had a hard time taking my exam, and my exam was delayed because of coronavirus. I graduated and started studying for it just when this coronavirus pandemic was just peaking, you know, just starting. So they closed down all the testing centers. So I really couldn't take the exam. And let me tell you, the amount of anxiety that I had, because keep in mind, you're going to have to keep studying and studying until you take it. And I was like, I can't keep studying for this exam. So I strongly suggest that you find a date, stick to it, book it, and just move on. When I looked it up, ideally they say to study between 1 to 2 months for the exam, which I think is pretty reasonable. 1 to 2 months is not bad. So I think that's a great idea. Do not wait. Also, everything is much more fresh in your head when you have just graduated from nursing school. Everything's fresh in your head. Then you take it maybe like a month later. You don't want to wait 6 months later after you've graduated to take the NCLEX, because it's like all that time has passed by. You might have forgot something. It's much better to do it when it's fresh in your head and just get it over with. Also, another reason why you should set a date is because that's going to help you stay focused. Once you have a date set, then that means you can kind of plan and organize yourself around that. So you know, okay, my test is in 2 months. So what am I going to do in the next 2 months to prepare for it? You know what I mean? So it'll be easier for you to set a plan, a study plan, and execute it better when you actually have a date. When the kind of date it's like ambiguous, it's in the air, and you're not really sure when you're gonna take it, you're like, I'll start studying, I won't start studying. So it's like, it just helps you stay more focused. When you have a date set in mind, you know where you're gonna take it, and you're just gonna go for it. So tip number 3 is just figuring out what tool you wanna use to help you study. Now, first of all, you should at this point know how you study best. So based on how you study best and how you learn best, you should then gear that towards figuring out which program, and there's a ton of NCLEX reviews and programs you can use. There's Kaplan, there's UWorld. I personally use UWorld and I loved it, but there's so many other ones. So you really need to do your research and figure out what works best for you. Try not to go just with what your friends use. Try to go based on what's going to be best for you, what's, you know, in your budget. how you learn best, you know, because different programs and different, like, you know, NCLEX review programs, they have different types of studying styles and things like that. So try to get what's best for you. I personally loved UWorld, like I said before. I thought it was great and I would highly recommend it. But again, do your own research to figure out which one is best for you. So my next tip, I don't remember what number I'm on at this point, but my next tip is to manage your stress. I would say do not become obsessed with the NCLEX. I know how important it is. I know how stressful it is. I understand, but you don't want it to engulf and overrun your life. Test anxiety is a real thing. Like, I know people who have a lot of test anxiety. I personally do get like a lot of anxiety when I'm about to take a major test like that. I think my test anxiety is not as bad as other people. I know people they're up and other. I've never had that experience. I just get super duper nervous. My hands are clammy. It's nasty. My heart's racing. The usual stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, so you're going to be studying for the NCLEX for a while. You're going to be doing questions all the time. So now that you already have a study plan, you know what, you told yourself, I'm going to do 100 questions a day, or 100 questions every other day, or whatever it is that you've decided to do. And now you're going to stick to it, because it's very easy to, you know, lose focus and not actually do it, but stick to it. Now you just want to balance it out with your life. You don't want to just be, I mean, I saw people who literally would wake up in the morning and then the first thing they did was do NCLEX questions, and the whole entire day they're doing questions. I can't live like that. Like, I don't know how people do that. I couldn't do it. So literally, if you watch my other video, I told you guys I barely did 50 questions a day. I was working 2 jobs. I was trying to manage, you know, having a life and studying and all this stuff. So I just would do questions on my phone. Because I downloaded the app, the UWorld app on my phone, and I would do questions whenever I could. If I was online at the grocery store, if I had a break, you know, at work, I would just do questions. And I didn't try to psych myself out over it. Like, literally, you'll drive yourself crazy if you have all this pressure that you put on yourself. Oh my God, I have to pass, I have to pass, I have to pass. If I fail, da da da. Sis, listen, worst comes to worst, if you fail, oh well, take it again. That's all it is, just take it again. Not everyone passes the first try, and it's okay. It doesn't mean you're going to be a bad nurse. It doesn't mean that you don't know anything or anything like that. Some people just have a lot of anxiety and they're just not that good at test taking. And then, like, they already kind of psych themselves out. And then when they get to the actual test, they like forget everything and they blank out. Like, it happens to the best of us. So if that happens to you, I know it's hurtful. I know it's hard, but dust off your shoulders, girl, and try again. It's not the end of the world. You worked so hard to get to this point. This is the last hurdle that you have to get over. Listen, you will get over it. So don't worry about that. So try to find things that really help you be more relaxed. Me personally, I'm obsessed with massages. So I always give myself a nice little massage. I go to massage, where I go to massage therapy, whatever it's called. I like to get massages, so I do that. Maybe you like to just, you know, watch Netflix. I don't know what you like to do to de-stress, but whatever it is that you like to do to de-stress, do those things. Try to incorporate it into your regimen of studying. You know, give yourself breaks because you don't want to like psych yourself out and go crazy with this stuff. You're going to be studying for the long haul, so it's just, you know, baby steps, baby steps. Okay, so my next tip that I have is don't forget to, while you're studying, incorporate and look up test-taking strategies. So what I did, besides obviously studying the material, right? So you're studying the material, whatever you don't understand something, as you're studying, you make note of it and you write it down and you go back and you can either look at lectures that you've had in the past to help you understand it, or you can, of course, use YouTube, which is what I did. I used YouTube random topics that I was having trouble with. But again, you won't know what you're struggling with or what you need help with until you actually go through the process of starting to study and using these tools and doing questions all the time. Then you're gonna see that there's a trend coming up where maybe you keep getting all the pharmacology questions wrong, or maybe you're having difficulty with the hot spot questions where, you know, they give you a picture or something like that. Maybe you're having difficulty with that, or maybe you're having difficulty with pediatrics. I don't know, whatever it is. So you have to keep in mind what you're having difficulty with so that you can remediate and get better, right? Besides that, you also want to look up, like I mentioned before, test-taking strategies. So, for example, I would research and look up different ways in which you can go about answering select and apply questions. So if you go on Google and you just type in like test taking strategies, you'll find so many different tips of how to actually break the question itself down and look for keywords and clues to help you answer the question. So for example, you want to avoid questions or answers that have extremes in them. So if the answer choice has something like the words all or never or none, usually that's not the right answer, because in life, very few things is like never gonna happen or it's all of it. You know what I mean? That usually doesn't happen. So you want to avoid those type of answer choices. Also, you want to remember your airway, breathing, circulation. Always keep that in mind as you're answering these questions. The NCLEX for me, when I took it, I thought it was very, very based on prioritization. Prioritization. Literally everything was who you're going to go see first, right? So airway, breathing, circulation is what I kept in my head. And that really helped me kind of narrow it down and figure out who or what patient to see first. So also keep that in mind as well. Also, what can help you too is keep in mind the nursing process. Okay, so you would assess the patient first. You wouldn't just call the doctor, right? Usually when you see an answer choice that says call the doctor, that's usually not the answer. Usually it's going to be something like assess the patient first to gather more information. Again, the nursing process. Keep that in mind as you're taking the NCLEX. I literally wrote down the nursing process next to me. So lastly, I just want to go over some tips of what to do for the actual day of the exam or days leading up to the exam, okay? You've done everything how to do, you studied everything, and now your test is maybe 2 days away. Stop studying. I know everyone always says, there really nothing you can cram in the 2 days. There isn't. Either you know it or you don't. Why keep studying and stressing yourself out and causing so much anxiety? Because for me, if I keep practicing questions and my exam is tomorrow and I get a question wrong, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail. I will freak out. Don't do that to yourself. 2-3 days before the exam, stop studying, just relax. Do some things that make you de-stress, like I mentioned before, and just breathe, okay? Do not do any more studying. You've done all you can, and now the test is like 2 days away. You've done everything you can at that point. Other tips is just to make sure that you get a good night's rest before the exam. Obviously, please do not pull an all-nighter or anything like that. Go to sleep, eat a good breakfast, bring some snacks with you. For me, the testing center was freezing cold, and I'm always cold anyways. I brought a sweater with me. I made sure I had a full tank of gas the night before. I actually even made sure that I knew, I actually already knew where I was going. Like I looked for the actual location and visited it beforehand, so I wasn't there looking for the place and running late possibly because I couldn't find the place or anything like that. Like just make sure you can prepare and cover all corners so that when you're going, nothing's gonna stop in the way. So you're going to get there on time. You're going to be well rested. You're going to be ready for the exam. So that's all the tips I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.